Hello and welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to a new episode of Africa Today, where we get you the latest news and events taking place on the African scene. And we will start off with our major top stories and reports. The African Union's commissioner said that Africa is counting on the Egyptian presidency of the UN Climate Change Conference COP27 to advance the interests of the continent regarding climate change interests. More details in this report.
African Union's Commissioner for Rural Economy and Agriculture, Josepha Sako, said that Africa is counting on the Egyptian presidency of the UN Climate Change Conference COP27 to advance the interests of the continent regarding climate issues. Sako's remarks came in a meeting with Ambassador Mohammed Ghed, the ambassador to Addis Ababa, and permanent representatives to the AU. And during the meeting, Sako hailed the ongoing preparations by the upcoming Egyptian presidency of COP27 on behalf of the African continent, describing them as unprecedented. Egypt is preparing to host COP27 between 6th and 18th of November and has been keen to build on the success of Glasgow Summit COP26 in a bid to return climate pledges into action. The African country has repeatedly affirmed that it will speak for Africa's aspirations regarding the climate file, with African countries being the most affected with climate change impacts despite being a small contributor to these efforts. The Egyptian presidency of COP27 will adopt a clear approach to implement the Paris Agreement at an accelerated pace by addressing the gaps and deficiencies in the global system dealing with climate change. During the International Cooperation Forum ICF 2022 in the administrative capital, FM Shukri said that COP27 will also enhance trust amongst all parties as each state implements the Paris Agreement.
Welcome back and stay with our special reports. Egypt plans to put forward 7 African-focused initiatives to address climate change at the 27th session of the UN Climate Change Conference COP27 that will be held in the Red Sea resort city of Sharm el-Sheikh in November. More details in this report.
Egypt plans to put forward 7 Africa-focused initiatives to address climate change at the 27th session of the UN Climate Change Conference of the parties COP27, set to take place in the Egyptian Red Sea city of Sharm el-Sheikh in November. The first initiative focuses on achieving fair energy transition for Africa, while the second, dubbed Decent Life for Africa, is aimed at improving the lives of African rural communities to strengthen their adaptive capacity. The third initiative is drawn from the Egyptian Decent Life Initiative, a presidential scheme comprising a series of countryside-focused national infrastructure projects. Egypt will present Women and Adaptation Initiative, meant to enhance African women's capabilities towards a more resilient environment and provide more green job opportunities. An initiative focusing on agriculture and food will be proposed in Sharm el-Sheikh to assess African agricultural practices and food systems. A water-focused initiative dubbed AWARE is also among the Egyptian proposals to develop an early warning system and protect water from the impact of climate change. The sixth initiative focuses on biodiversity in order to protect marine life and the ecosystem from the consequences of climate change. The initiative is based on natural solutions. The seventh initiative, named Africa Waste 50, aims at increasing Africa's recycling rate to 50% by 2050. The waste initiative requires private sector participation, increasing investment in this sector across the continent. Egypt is also set to announce a set of other initiatives in the sphere of food, water, and energy during the event.
مصير مشترك. مصر تسلمت الرئاسة الدورية للاتحاد الإفريقي لعام 2019 وتتطلع كعادتها دوما للتعبير عن شواغل الشعوب الإفريقية الشقيقة الرامية لتحقيق الاستقرار والتقدم ودفع عجلة التنمية قدما. إذا كنتم ترغبون في تغيير وجه القارة الأفريقية، فالاتحاد الإفريقي كقيادة تستطيع أن تعمل وتبذ بشكل مركزي لمشروع عملاق لبناء بنية أساسية على مستوى القارة. أنا أتصور أن الأمن والاستقرار استثمار. إذا لم تستقر هذه القارة والأمن فيها بمعدلاته عالية، هذا الأمر سينعكس بالسلب علينا كلنا.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, and to shed more light on the upcoming COP27 conference that will be held in Sharm el-Sheikh in November, we are delighted to be joined over the phone by Ambassador Gamal Bayoumi, former assistant to the Foreign Minister. Good afternoon, Mr. Ambassador.
Good afternoon.
Ambassador Bayoumi, the African Union's Commissioner for Rural Economy, said that Africa is counting on the Egyptian presidency of the UN Climate Change Conference, COP27, to advance the interests of the conference, of the continent regarding climate change issues. How far is this applicable in your opinion?
It is a very important and difficult task because we are living in the same earth, enjoying the same environment. So those who are making bad to our environment, or those who are not, are smelling the same nitrogen or carbon. Another problem that those who are doing bad to our weather, they are the largest economies in the world. We are talking about America, China, partially Europe and India. And it's a matter of cost, how we can convince the industry to spend more money in order to make their industries more friendly to our environment. So the task is not easy, but we are continuing trying to find a sort of solution suitable for all the parties. And it is a challenge, but I think that the Egyptian diplomacy is up to it. If Egypt cannot do it, nobody can do it. So this is a part of Sameh Shukri is doing in New York nowadays in order to coordinate with the largest fund we can ever collect, the Third World, the G77, and others, the Arab world, Africa, all of us are suffering from this problem, and we shall be happy in order to do our best in order to make our environment much better and to convince those who are doing bad to our environment to spend some money in order to make our life much easier.
Well, Ambassador Bayoumi, Egypt believes that all institutions, including international financial institutions, multilateral development banks, must cooperate for a successful climate action. Now, how far do you think financial support will be available around the world?
This is the toughest point of our target. Sameh Shukri said yesterday that we need $100 billion annually in order to help those who cannot do anything about the environment. This is not a figure which we can afford. So the international community, especially the highly developed countries, are responsible to finance this goal. And I hope if we cannot finance it all, let us finance part of it and make our life better day after another until we reach our goal.
Yes. Sir, President Abdel Fattah el-Sisi earlier said that the COP27 will witness a constructive dialogue with the aim of producing ambitious results and developing initiatives that build on the outcomes of the United Nations Ocean Conference. Now, how far do you expect the results to be positive during the upcoming conference and implementation? How far do you think implementation would be easy?
As a matter of fact, we started the job even some months ago.
Yes.
So we expect by reaching November in Sharm el-Sheikh that we shall be able to establish a good position or the most available position in order to face this problem. And Egypt and its alliance in Africa, in the Arab world, some European countries are with us here to find middle way solutions.
Yeah.
It's not a complete solution for the problem of environment.
Yes.
And simply we want to put down the temperature of our Earth by 1.5 degrees. This is not much. But this 1.5 degrees, you can see its impact on our seashores, on the Mediterranean, that our shores are starting to diminish because the water level is going higher and higher because of this.
Yeah.
So the challenge is there, but we are sure that there are people and countries who are with us. So I expect, inshallah, that Sharm el-Sheikh will be a good step forward to solve this problem.
Mm-hmm. So speaking about Egypt and what are the effects of climate change on the coastal regions in Egypt, and how far do you think Egypt will be able to protect its shores? And of course, do you think that it has an impact, climate change has an impact on changing the patterns of weather in Egypt?
Yes, if you visit our shores, especially in the western part of Egypt, you will realize that we are building new bridges to protect our land and to make the water much easier to determine. So we are doing our best with the international community effort to stop this temperature to get higher and higher. I think we have here a small success story.
Yeah.
But Egypt is doing its best, and we are trying to cooperate with all our partners in order to see what we are doing with our limited capacity to face such a huge problem made by the largest and the richest countries in the world.
Yes. Sir, the universality of climate change has prompted Egypt to implement a sustainable development model, centralized, increasing green projects to 50% by 2025 and 100% by 2030. Would you please elaborate on Egypt's plans to achieve its goals regarding climate change?
Yes. All our new industries are bearing in mind to be green ones, and we shall not allow industries like cement or fertilizer or chemical process to do harm or to harm our environment.
Yeah.
So Egypt is a country that respects the environment necessary steps. So we are doing this, but mind you that we are one of 200 countries.
Yeah.
You cannot do it alone. You have to establish a sort of alliance, and we want the majority of the whole world doing the same thing we are doing.
Yeah. Well, sir, Egypt has issued the first offering of green bonds with a value of 750 million US dollars. What are the green bonds?
We use the word green. It means that more oxygen, because as you well know, Africa and in Egypt we have a lot of forests, and we want to make our land much more green, because green means more oxygen. The green leaves of any tree, it produces the oxygen which we are smelling, and we have to do efforts on two dimensions.
Yeah.
First, that whenever we establish new industry, to make sure that it is green, it is friendly for the environment and oxygen, and to encourage planting more and more trees. We have a project to plant some more 100 million trees of olives. This is very good as a production, as environment protection. So let us try and hope that many countries will follow whatever we are doing in this sector.
Yeah, well, sir, how are African countries supposed to adhere to their climate pledges amid the tons of economic hardships they face and aftermath of the coronavirus pandemic?
Africa is in a very sensitive position, and the challenge is big, and bigger than Africa. What Africa should do. So we are trying to convince those who were occupying Africa and using its resources to be much richer on the account of Africa, to spend some more money to help Africa in order to deal with all these problems. The epidemic of corona, the economic impact of the war in Ukraine, the problem of food, the problem of energy, all these challenges need more and more finance.
Yes.
And we are doing our best, but really if the highly developed countries do not cooperate, then we are nowhere. But I think they are listening much more than before, and this is our task as a country which is in a position that many countries in the world listen to us.
Yeah. Well, I would like to thank you very much, Ambassador Gamal Bayoumi, former assistant to the Foreign Minister. Many thanks for your insight. And dear viewers, now we move on to our last report. Confirmed cases of Ebola virus disease in Uganda have risen to 11, and 3 more deaths have been registered. More details in this report.
Health officials said a total of 4 people have died from the highly contagious Ebola virus in Uganda, where the authorities declared an outbreak earlier this week. The health ministry said in a statement 3 new deaths were recorded, raising the toll from 1 to 4 after the country's first fatality from the virus since 2019 was reported on Tuesday. A total number of confirmed cases now stood at 11 after 4 more infections were confirmed at the last 24 hours. It was not immediately clear if the 11 cases included the 4 fatalities. 19 others suspected of contracting Ebola were receiving treatment at a hospital. Authorities declared an outbreak in the central district of Mubende on Tuesday, announcing the death of a 24-year-old man. Travel restrictions on non-essential work and a ban on large public gatherings have been imposed in the city. The first victim has tested positive for the relatively rare Sudan strain of the virus. There have been 7 previous outbreaks of the Sudan strain, including 4 times in Uganda and thrice in Sudan. Uganda, which shares a border with the Democratic Republic of Congo, DRC, has experienced several Ebola outbreaks, most recently in 2019, when at least 5 people died.
Welcome back, dear viewers, and that brings us to the end of this edition of Africa Today. Many thanks for watching, and stay tuned for more coming up here on Nile TV International.